Representations of Arab men have changed over time, and this change is linked to particular historical moments. The year 1945, the end of World War II, figures as an important historical moment. It marks the decline of European colonialism, the beginning of the Cold War, the creation of Israel in 1948 in the shadow of the Holocaust, and the emergence of the U.S. as a global power. As the U.S. became a global power, representations of exotic fantasies in the Middle East began to shift to more ominous representations of violence and terrorism that we see today in the media. Representations of Arabs as terrorists emerged with the inauguration of the State of Israel in 1948, the Arab-Israeli War, and subsequent Israeli occupation of Palestinian territories in 1967, and the formation of Palestinian resistance movements. What has happened is that the violence of Palestinian resistance movements that have opposed the illegal Israeli military occupation, which many see as a movement for freedom, has been portrayed as terrorism, while the violence of the Israeli government has been portrayed as defense and as legal because it's tied to the state. This framework of associating Arabs with terrorism and destroying what would otherwise allegedly be a peaceful situation has been used to monolithically portray Palestinians and, by default, all Arabs and Muslims. Other political events have also factored into how Arabs have been represented in U.S. popular culture, and there's been a shift from dangerous rapist sheiks and romantic sheiks to rich, flashy oil sheiks who threaten the U.S. economy, and also to dangerous terrorists who threaten national security. During the Mideast oil crisis in 1973, the Organization of Petroleum Exporting Countries enacted an embargo on Israel and its allies, leading to a gas shortage in the U.S. As a result, the media represented Arabs as greedy oil sheiks with the power to threaten the U.S. economy. In 1979-1980, during the Iran hostage crisis, in which 65 Americans were held hostage for 444 days in the American embassy in Tehran, in retaliation for the U.S. interfering in Iranian internal affairs, the U.S. news media focused on this story almost exclusively. Though Iran is not an Arab country, during the Iran hostage crisis, Iran came to stand in for Arabs, the Middle East, Islam, and terrorism, all of which came to be used interchangeably. The news media came to play a crucial role in associating the Middle East with terrorism. While such political events do indeed involve violence and terrorism, what is not addressed is why someone would resort to violence. The context is often absent from these representations. And these representations not only give the false impression that Arabs and Muslims are uniquely violent, but also gives the impression that Arabs and Muslims commit acts of violence because they are Arab and Muslim, and not because of political conditions, whether colonialism, occupation, or other external interferences. Failing to portray Arab and Muslim men in all of their diversity, as fathers, brothers, friends, as kind, gentle, as believing in freedom and justice, and repeatedly portraying Arabs and Muslims as terrorists, can be seen as linked to foreign policy. Because if we see Arabs and Muslims as inherently violent, then it would make sense that we need to invade their countries and be at war with them. If we were to see them as being more like us, it would make it more difficult to support policies that negatively impact them.